So guys, let's talk about the grail in the room.
Here we go.
The grail in the room. The
Here's the
elephant
bias.
grail. I know, right? The elephant grail in the room. We got to talk about Endgame Loki. And there's some photos I want to share. I want to start with the bad, and then we'll lead up into the good. Maybe I'm a pessimist, but we got to start with the bad and lead to the good. Or what's perceived to be the bad anyway. Mm-hmm. So, guys, I know people in other streams have heard about this figure quite a bit, but we haven't been able to address it on one of my streams yet. I did a separate individual video for it, but I've not been able to address it on a live stream yet. That said, I do feel like it is important that we talk about it because I really want to ask you guys, is it that bad or are we overreacting? Because I think, with all my bias, like Riley said, I think we might be overreacting to this because I'm going to share just one more, just before you guys get your opinions, before you form your opinions, I want to share actually something that I shared. Primetime Reviews sent me this. I was sending this to Leo. So he sent me these photos, Primetime Reviews, and I can scroll through a little bit here, showing the figure. It looks pretty good. Is it perfect? No. Am I happy? Yes, because I'm a huge Loki fan, but I really don't feel it's as bad as maybe we originally thought it was. Is it as good as we hoped it to be? No, I don't think so. But Marco, I want to get your reaction, man. Is it that bad or are we overreacting? What are your honest thoughts on this figure?
Yeah, so this one is obviously very polarizing. I think we're overreacting a bit. And so I feel like very few hot toys are just complete, to use Carlos's words here, dog shit, right? Like, a lot of the times they're maybe a little bit subpar to the standard that they've set. But I think that overall, this is a pretty good figure, right? Like I've seen the comparisons from the original version versus this 2.0 in terms of the tailoring. They've done a great job of like making all the finer details look like very modern. The face sculpt looks good. Like it looks like Tom Hiddleston or Hiddleston.
Hiddleston.
Yeah, There you go.
You're talking to the Loki expert here.
Yeah, of course. That's why I had to ask you.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it looks just like him. Obviously, with the helmet on, it looks significantly better, but you can't look at this picture right here that you have up and say, this one's bad. Now, I will say this is one I'm considering canceling. I do have my pre-order through Alter Ego, and after hearing the interview that you did, I would actually feel bad, leaving him on the hook, because obviously he can't cancel the order, even if I do. But I really want the TVA Loki. I've seen that prototype. I think it looks terrific, and I've got a little more high hopes that that one's going to come out to be, just a representation that I want a bit more in my collection. But that being said, yeah, I think everyone's overreacting. This is still pretty decent, but I can understand why some folks are feeling like it's not hitting the high bar that Hot Toys has set.
Yeah, understandable. We do want to hold them to a high standard. I've always been consistent about that, Marco. We want to hold them to the standard that they're capable of, and they are capable of more than this. So I do understand that where we're coming from with that. But I do feel like this still looks pretty good with the helmet on.
It does, right there. That picture's great too.
I know, man. I know. Riley, drop some knowledge on us, bro. Drop some wisdom on the chat right now. What's going on with this Loki, man?
This is a 7. It's not good. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm not Carlos. No, honestly, I get where he's coming from, I guess, because there's been a lot of misses with Hot Toys, and I think he's just that more so is kind of like getting his judgment. Because there hasn't been like 9s. Like we really haven't seen a lot of like 9s or 9.5s recently. So I think that's also going to help like a lot of people who are collecting right now. Like think that these aren't really as good as they are. Personally, like you said, I think it's like an 8 or like a 7.5 at least. I think it's an 8 out of 10. I really do see Tom Hiddleston. I know some people say it looks like a stunt double, but to me, I don't know. I mean, the photos, there are some that look bad, but like everyone talks about, like when it comes to photography and stuff, there's a lot of like certain like things you can do to like manipulate it, where it looks a lot different than what the actual figure is. And I think that just like these photos here, which are like in-person photos, nice high definition photos, and I think it looks really good. But I would say, like people have talked about, when the helmet is off, I do think that there is imperfections, but to me, when it has the helmet on, I think that's the best way he looks. Like I wouldn't have him with the helmet off if I had him in my display, because I just think like the presence with the helmet looks a lot cooler, and I just think it looks better anyways. But again, I think it's like an 8 out of 10. It's probably not going to be one that I get personally. I know. Sorry, Will. Sorry, man. I'm not getting it. But I'm kind of sticking to Spider-Man with Marvel right now. But I just think it looks really good. I don't have much problems with it. I mean, I think that a great point that a lot of people have talked about, the reason why this is so controversial and a reason why a lot of people are, I'm not going to get it anymore, is probably because of the wait time. I just think that this figure took like, I think it was like almost 3 years. Like, it's pretty crazy. So when everyone's waiting that long, you kind of are like, okay, Hot Toys, this needs to be like a 9 or a 9.5. Like, it needs to be that good if you're taking this long. But I guess it just didn't end up coming that way. They probably wanted to just rush it out because there's just a lot of backlog, and they're doing like 4 releases now a week, which is pretty crazy. But I still think that it's serviceable in a collection. If I liked Loki or I was planning on getting it, I'd still pull through with it, because I just think once you get it in hand, I see Tom Hiddleston. I think it looks really good personally. But yeah, that's the way I see it.
I agree with you guys. Yeah, overall, I'm with you, Riley. I think it's like 8.5 with the helmet on. That's how I feel about it. And, and I'm trying to eliminate all bias I have in love for the character. And that's something I think that we can address at some point, whether on this topic or another one. Are you more harsh because it's a character you love, a tier 1 character as we call it, or are you more forgiving, essentially? And I think that's something that's worth exploring. For me, I don't know, man. I feel like it just really depends. I guess overall we're probably more forgiving is what I would say. Because if it's a character you love and you feel like you need that character in your collection, you're probably a little more forgiving to accept something that's not quite as good. Like I've had the CC Toys Joel and Ellie. I ended up selling them because someone offered me a great deal. But those figures are pretty good, but they're not top tier, right? They're not great. Yeah. So it's because I love the characters. So, yeah, absolutely, man. But
and I will say, Will, Riley's point about the delay, like that totally played into people's anticipation, right?
Sure.
The longer it was delayed, the fact that we got another Loki prototype that was shown where the head sculpt was so terrific, like, of course, everyone's expectations were going to be so high that anything short of like a 9, people were going to be disappointed. So I think that's a really great point.
I think so. I think you guys are definitely onto something. The fact that this was delayed for so long, I think that's a huge factor in this whole thing, because a lot of people really anticipated this character a lot. It's really the last one of the Endgame line. The Endgame Strange, like the Iron Strange, it's like it's kind of like almost more like a comic series or something. It's like it's still technically Endgame because it was a concept thing, but this is really the last of the Endgame line to me. And I think people were really excited for it. It made me excited in a way, in kind of a roundabout way, because you look at it and you're like, well, people really care about Loki apparently, because this was a figure that people were anticipating and really wanted and kept getting delayed. And now they're a little bit disappointed. If they weren't going to get this figure, didn't care, that they wouldn't probably, they probably might say it sucks and move on. But the fact that we've been talking about it so much clearly shows that there's a demand for this character. So Interesting, guys. It's a buy for me. So, I'm getting
Grail.
Yeah, Grail, baby. Grail.